buddy. You look great. Okay. Today on The Rihanna Show, we will be talking about what went down in the Frome household. So, present day, an engineer, we will call him our narrator, arrives in the beautiful town of Starkfield, Massachusetts, and meets a 52-year-old man named Ethan Frome. Our narrator becomes so interested in this mysterious gentleman that he decides to learn about his past. Alright, going back 24 years earlier, we have a 28-year-old Ethan Frome who lives with his wife Zena, who is a hypochondriac, and his wife's cousin Maddie Silver. Maddie takes care of Zena, and as the story progresses, we see that Ethan falls madly in love with her.
Say what?
I know, but wait, there's more. Zena grows suspicious of the two and tells Ethan that Maddie will no longer live with them. So, Ethan and Maddie decide to run away together, and Maddie comes up with a brilliant idea to sled down a hill, crash into the elm tree, and kill themselves. But they survive! Now that we've filled you in on what's happened, we are going to speak to our narrator, who would still like to remain anonymous. We recorded our interview with him a while back, and we will play it for you right now.
As an outsider, I studied their lives without taking any outside influence. I believe that the lives of Ethan, Zena, and Maddie is separate from the influence around the social context. I emphasize the form rather than the content. I'm like the frame story, which is the story within the story. This provides the audience more understanding and context of the story. I express curiosity of wanting to know about Ethan's accident. I'm telling the story 20 years after Ethan's tragedy by listening to Ethan himself. By providing a different commentary, the audience sees a new perspective of how Ethan Frome's story affects many individuals. My interest in Ethan's story makes the audience feel just as compelled as to why I'm intrigued by his story. The suicidal attempt of Ethan and Maddie is the climax of their lives, and it really contributes to the idea of repression because we see how suicide is used as a way to escape facing everyday conflicts, which is relatable to teenagers and young adults. Finally, the elm tree in the story is also important in the story. The symbol of the elm tree foreshadows events, creates a deep meaning within the book because it advances the story of Ethan Frome's tragic love. There are many motifs that are present within the lives of Ethan, Zena, and Maddie. One of them is illness, disability, and transformation. Ethan and those individuals close to him, including Maddie, suffer from sickness or disability. Caring for the sick and the lame defines Ethan's life. He had to tend for his ailing mother and care for his hypochondriacal wife, Zena. Ethan is forced to spend the rest of his days disfigured with the paralyzed Maddie. The outward predominance of illnesses in the characters' physical states reflects that inwardly they are all in states of destitution and decline. Through the course of history, we see Ethan Frome transform from a healthy young man with dreams and aspirations into a man with a severe spinal injury, a suspicious red gash on his forehead, and no hope for a happy future. Ethan's wife Zena also makes transformations, going back and forth between being sick and healthy all the time. This relates to how the American society is in a moment of major transformation, moving rapidly toward
Modernization.
technology and modernization are kept just out of Ethan's reach and contribute to his dire transformation. Maddie's red scarf and red ribbon are motifs too. Maddie is an impulsive, melodramatic young woman, more adolescent than adult. She persuades Ethan to attempt suicide, which reveals her as rather immature, ready to give in to whatever passionate and foolish thoughts enter her head. She wears red. At the dance, she wears a red scarf, and for the evening alone, she puts a red ribbon in her hair. Red is the color of blood, good health, and vitality, all of which Maddie has in abundance, and all of which Zena lacks. In the oppressive white landscape of Starkfield, red stands out, just as Maddie stands out in the oppressive landscape of Ethan's life. Red is also the color of passion, transgression, and sin. Maddie's scarlet adornments also symbolize her role as Ethan's temptress toward moral transgression. Repression is also prevalent in the book, and we all agree that repression is a great enemy. People can be repressed by love, duty, circumstances, lack of education, and even by the natural world. Because Ethan, Zena, and Maddie are so repressed in almost every area of their lives, they often fall back on manipulation as a substitute for more direct forms of communication. For example, Zena is the main embodiment of manipulation. Her health changes and can be good or bad, seemingly depending on her needs at a given moment. In addition, Zena helped care for Ethan's mother when she was sick. It seems that Zena never lets Ethan forget this fact. Another motif is the snow and cold. Starkfield is built around cold, ice and snow, and hues of white. The characters constantly complain about the cold, and the climatic scene hinges on the use of a winter sport, sledding, as a means of suicide. Eventually, however, the wintry imagery becomes overwhelming and oppressive, as the overall tone and outlook of the book become increasingly bleak. This is significant because the cumulative effect is to make the audience feel by the end of the novel that, like Ethan himself, they have been in Starkfield too many winters. Lastly, the cat and pickle dish are really important motifs. During their meal alone, Ethan and Maddie, the cat breaks Zena's pickle dish and then seats itself in Zena's rocking chair. This serves as a symbol of Xena's invisible presence in the house. It is a force that comes between Maddie and Ethan and reminds them of the wife's existence. The broken pickle dish, which was Xena's favorite wedding present, symbolizes the disintegration of the Frome marriage. Xena's anguish over the broken dish manifests her deeper anguish over her fractured relationship.
Now that we've filled you in on what's happened, let's give it up for Ethan Frome, everybody.
Thank you.
Look, there he is, there he is. Oh my god, 52, and still so hip. Hi Ethan, so let's talk about everything that's happened from your perspective.
From my point of view, I would consider myself an archetype, you know, a figure that repeats itself in the course of history wherever creative fantasy is fully manifested. Archetypes usually dip into a level of desire and anxiety. I found myself in constant conflicts with Xena, who I thought was ungrateful. When Maddie moved in with us, a strong bond between us formed. When Xena grew suspicious of me and Maddie, I felt like she was jealous, which is why she asked Maddie to leave. I had many opportunities to be with Maddie, but guilty that I felt for another woman, I came to terms with leaving Xena for Maddie. Finally, Maddie was able to convince me to commit suicide, even though it didn't really work out.
We've talked to Ethan, and now we're going to hear from his wife. Xena wasn't too comfortable coming in and talking to us today, but we're going to call her in and hear her side of the story. Yep, alrighty. There we go. Hey Xena, it's Rihanna. How are you today?
Hey Ree, I'm good, and I'm very, very healthy, unlike some people I know. I think a lot of the audience mainly sympathizes with Ethan, but the audience has to remember that the narrator is biased, and they make me look so much more evil than I actually am. Maddie is my stark contrast, a character foil, I guess, and everyone looks at me as if I was the reason that they couldn't be together. But I was married to Ethan. While he was supposed to take care of me, he was foolishly with another girl. What happened to "till death do us part"? I'm keeping my side of my promise by taking care of them now. Another thing too, I always fulfilled my duties as a woman. When Ethan's mom was sick, I took care of her, and now I'm taking care of Ethan and Maddie. But who took care of me when I was sick? No one. When I was sick, he was falling in love with my cousin. I did my part, and people still look at me as if I'm the villain.
Okay, thank you for that. So we're going to call you back later to hear what you learned from the experience. Thank you. Alright, so we will be talking to Xena one last time. Hey Xena, so please tell us what you learned from this experience.
For one thing, Starkfield, Massachusetts conjures images of northern winters. It is the land of broken dreams, lost hopes, and empty plans. Its inhabitants spend much of each year in a state of siege by the elements. People like Ethan become buried emotionally beneath the winter. Their very sense of self is sapped by the oppressive power of the 6-month-long cold season. Ethan yearns to escape Starkfield. When he was younger, we learned he hoped to leave his family farm and work as an engineer in a larger town. His physical environment became his destiny, and the wintry air of the place seems to have seeped into his very bones.
Okay, thank you so much, Xena. It was really nice talking to you. Bye-bye. So, Maddie, is there anything you have to say about the situation? Alright, so tell me about it.
Even supremely selfish acts actually impact other people. All of our actions impact the lives of others. Even distance, isolating oneself, can be hurtful to others. We felt strained because we were very aware of the nature of our relationship. Even when we had the night alone together, we couldn't escape Xena's presence. When we attempted suicide to selfishly leave a sick Xena, it was Xena who was forced to take care of us after the event. I believe that deep, deep down, everyone is good and wants to do the right thing. Ethan is generally a good person. He stays in Starkfield to take care of his mother, abandoning his dreams to be an engineer. He married Xena because she helped him take care of his mother. When he asked for an advance on his payment, He refuses to use that money to leave because he'd rather not take advantage of people. The people of Starkfield believe that people are good and want to do good. Ethan believes that he can be what people think of him, and when he couldn't fit in their expectations of him, he lets his destiny decide his fate.
Now that we've heard everyone's side of the story, we would like to give the Fromes a little something. A check for $1 million. And it goes out to Zena Frome. Our hearts are with you, honey. Okay, and that wraps up our show today. And for our audience members, we would like to give you an autographed picture of me. Woo! Okay, see ya tomorrow, everybody.